This is Special Agent Jody Shimonik with the Oregon Department of Justice. It is May 26th, 2016 at 10:35 in the morning, and I'm here with Larry O'Day, and we're at his residence in Beaver Creek, Oregon. Larry, you see that we're recording this?
Yes, ma'am.
And you know we're here. You agreed to meet me here today voluntarily.
Yes, I did.
And the purpose kind of our visit today was I came to pick up the
Lawn chair and the follower to the Winchester 9422.
And then we were going to go over a couple things just to clarify some stuff from our previous conversations and the interview you had at Field Station on April 21st. So on April 21st, the date of this incident, you guys are in the middle of nowhere. Everyone ends up driving to Field Station or Field Store.
Yes.
Which is approximately like an hour away.
Maybe a little less.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe, I don't know, maybe 40, 50 minutes.
Okay. And so when you arrived there, you came after Bob Dempsey had been transported by Lieb and Bechtel.
And Jim Miller was with them, too.
Oh, okay. And so you come later, and when you arrive, is the deputy already there?
Yes.
Okay.
There's two law enforcement there. The deputy is there, and then there was somebody else just as a cover officer. I want to say like Fish and Game or BLM or something like
he was
that.
federal agent with Fish and Wildlife from the Malheur Refuge. John Megan, bearded guy. Yeah. And so while you were there, at some point in time, Deputy Chris Nesbitt comes and talks to you about what happened.
I don't know the name, but a deputy.
Okay. So he comes and talks to you about what happened, and you had told him at that time that he'd asked you some questions about what he had done that day and what had happened. And when you were at Fields, what did you think happened to Dempsey? How do you think he was wounded?
My belief at that time was that he accidentally shot himself, reholstering his Smith & Wesson Model 41 in that tanker holster. Because when I had turned and looked at him, I see this bullet hole in line with this holster, and his gun's not there. And first trying to figure out, right, then it's clear. He says he shot. I see a bullet hole, and it's like, that's exactly what happened. He was reholstering, must have had his finger in.
Or caught on the holster.
Yeah.
So some people who are looking at it now, after the fact, are questioning, well, clearly the angle of that wound, and if the holster's in the front of his chest, how would the wound be in his lower back? So why wouldn't the chief realize that at the time he's looking at this?
It was exactly lined up. That holster, in fact, I had to have him, grab this quick. I had to even move the holster out of the way because that holster is angled across him, and this hole is like right below him. So I'm like, I got to get this holster out of the way. I got to get your Carhartt pieces down so I can reach down and reach all around.
Okay, so some people are describing the holster as being a little bit higher up, but you're saying that the holster is like under his breast.
Yeah, it's angled across the chest like this. And then that gun that he has sticks out about 2 inches below the opening. It's made for a different kind of gun.
Okay. So, and I'm assuming at the time of that incident, you're rendering first aid. You're not thinking about the angle of the shot and where this could have came from. That was just your first instinct of what possibly happened.
That's when I looked at that, and then he said he was shot, and I saw where it was like he shot himself.
And at the time you're talking to Nesbitt, that's what you believe, and you believe that up until Sunday night, the 20th.
Not even Sunday night. It was probably middle of the day Sunday.
Okay, Sunday afternoon when Mike Lieb calls you.
Yeah.
And at that point, Mike says, "Hey, so-and-so was over here, and so-and-so was back there," and he tells you where he saw everyone. And
yeah, and before that, because Steve Bechtel and I were talking on the way back, because he had called me. Bob had called us on the way home about 10 o'clock, and he was all medicated, But he was still saying, I didn't shoot myself, And I was like, I don't know. I think you did.
Okay. Had you seen, was he using that holster that day?
Yeah, all day, all trip.
Okay.
He used that holster.
And some people are saying that he was not using the holster every time, that sometimes he was putting the gun on the tray of his chair. Did you?
That would be on the other side. All I know is he has the holster and he's shooting that gun. It's not like he takes a shot and puts it back every time.
Right, he's not holstering every time, yeah.
So he could have it in his hand. He's right-handed or on the table.
Okay.
And when I looked at him, the holster was definitely empty.
Okay, so, and you're saying that Dempsey is right-handed, so the tanker holster is over on his left,
It's
under
on his
his left side. Okay.
Yeah.
And his tray of his chair is on the right.
Yes.
Okay. And then same with your chair. Your chair has a tray on the right side of it.
Yes.
And you said Bob's right-handed, and you also are right-handed.
Yes.
So the other thing that happened at the time that you were being talked to, and everyone was being talked to by Deputy Nisbet, in his report that came out, he said that he had smelled an odor of alcohol on everyone's breath, and that people had bloodshot, watery, glossy eyes, and so I wanted to ask you if you recalled if he talked to you about how much you had drank that day, if you were intoxicated, or if he talked to you about whether or not the victim had been drinking.
He didn't ask me about drinking alcohol at all. I don't recall that he asked about if Bob was drinking. Where he did mention alcohol was at the very end, and he said, I know you guys are all going to be driving now. I smell alcohol on every one of you. And I cut him off right there this close and said, I have not had any alcohol.
And so this is like at the end, he's interviewed all of you.
Yeah.
Bob's been life flighted. Everybody's
Right.
kind of getting ready to take off or make a decision on what they're doing that night. And as a group, he has you guys together and
Yeah.
says that. Okay. Again, you had said to us in the earlier interview that in the morning at breakfast you had a cup of coffee and you put some Irish cream in it.
Yeah, and that we got up at 6:30. I had one cup of coffee with a splash of Irish cream in it, and this was 4:30 in the afternoon.
Yeah. And then had you someone said that they thought let me go back. So you had said just prior to Bob being shot that you had gotten up and went and got a drink. Was that a beer, do you recall?
No, what I did was I got up and I went back to my truck, had a few spoonfuls of food, started thinking about, all right, what do I want to do for dinner? And I pulled a beer can out of my cooler and brought it back unopened and set it in my cup holder on my tray.
Okay. So your tray has a little cup holder in it.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I was thinking it had a cup holder in the chair, but then
No,
okay. So it's in the tray. And so that was the first beer that would have been in your hand that day.
Yes.
Okay. And had you had a drink of that at all that day? Do you recall?
What my plan was, I was going to get up, go to my left, put my gun down, pick up my beer, go to my left, go back to my truck behind the line so I could take these headphones off. I was the only one wearing headphones. Mm-hmm. Everyone else had plugs, but headphones kind of compress your head after a while after wearing them for a couple hours, and so I want to go back and take those off.
So how long when you went to your truck and had a couple of bites of food and then came back with a beer, how long before you got up and left? Had you fired some rounds shooting at sage rats or not? Okay.
Yeah, and I shot, they had a couple cans on the far wall. I probably shot 80% of my rounds shooting at this challenging can target, 100 yards away.
Okay. So you'd been sitting down in the chair for a while.
Yeah.
Got up to give your ears a rest, and that's when you...
Well, no, when I first got up, I got up to go get a couple bites of food, kind of look at my cooler, start thinking about what I want to make for dinner, and then brought a closed beer can back and sat down.
Okay. But then when the incident with Bob happened, you said you were getting up again.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're getting up again, and do you recall when you were getting up? This is going to be just previous to Bob being shot. If you at some point rested your gun on the chairs or had it pointed that direction, or
I'm right-handed, so I sit in the chair with the gun like this, and then my intention was, get up, take my rifle, put it down against the table, pick up my can, and start walking. So I'm, in the process of sitting here, holding my gun like this, and all right, I'm going to get up, take this, and get up and go left and go back behind my truck.
Okay, so do you think you would have pointed the barrel to your left or to your right?
Well, my rifle, so I'm holding it like this, so you're...
Right, that's how I would have held it if I'm right-handed.
And so then, I'm taking it up, tilting it up, holding it in the middle, and then my intention is to, put it down against the table.
So are you thinking of like laying it on the table or putting it...
No, what I typically do is prop it up.
Okay, so putting the buttstock on the ground, the barrel up, and have it in the front of the tray, like at the front of the tray or the side of the tray?
Typically I'll put it buttstock down, facing up, leaning against the tray. There were times where I have set it on the table when everybody was forward, so I know that's a safer direction.
Okay. And do you recall unloading it, opening the action, if it was loaded, unloaded?
It definitely had bullets in the magazine, and typically what I do is lever that open and you get the round out that's inside, and then one will fit on the carrier, and you just shake that out. The other thing that I do sometimes that Jim taught me was just leave the fire case. Don't lever it again. Leave it with an empty casing in there to be safe.
Okay. And so after this incident happens, first let me go back. So you did not feel the gun go off. You did not hear it. You're shaking your head no. Yeah. And so at that no point while you guys are out in this valley area where you're shooting, did you realize that you had an accidental discharge?
No, I'm gun barrel is pointing back behind me, and I'm looking this way. When I turn and see Bob, first he makes a noise, and then he says something about being hurt, and then he says I'm shot. It wasn't like you shot me. It was I'm shot, and he's right there, and I'm looking at the lineup of this, and it's like.
And at this point, you've stood up when you hear him, right? Or
the best that I believe is I know my intention is I'm gonna set my rifle down, take this can, and go over to where my truck is. And so I seem to recall. I mean, it was maybe 2 steps from Bob.
Okay.
Because, when I turn and I'm looking at him, I can, it's 2 steps to get to him or so.
Right.
So I know I'm, right by my chair or, 1 or 2 steps.
So after you've rendered first aid to him, when do you go back to your weapon? Or do you go back to your weapon and do you clear it? And that's one of the things that I've been just racking my brain about since realizing I'm the one that shot him. And my gun had to be somewhere right there. But I just don't recall picking it up. I remember, but I know that I had to have cleared it because I put it in the truck and how I put it in the truck. Because we had several people loading trucks and things. It was put in there in a way only I would know. Okay. So. But you just don't recall when you picked it up?
No, because the other thing I've been thinking about is when, I'm thinking he's shot, and this is later after realizing I did it, is like, all right, did my gun slide down the table? Did it fall towards him? And it's not. I remember just a clear picture of him with my gun not in that sight.
Okay, so so I just want to make sure I understand you. You turn shortly after, like within a second of getting up or 2 seconds of getting up, to see that Bob's clearly hurting.
Yeah, so I'm in this process. I'm setting my gun down and moving, and like I said, I can't tell, was I right there, I know it was only 2 steps to get to him, so I'm close. I'm real close.
And so you're kind of indicating you're like up in front of your chair, and you were going to move from your chair to the left, away from Bob
Yeah,
Dempsey.
I was going to go left and then get to my truck and go back.
Okay. And just to make it clear, you don't recall clearing your gun or the condition that you found your gun in after this happened.
Because I picked up a lot of the guns. I picked up Jim's guns, and they were in their holsters. And I picked up Steve's and Mike's 1022s, and I remember they were locked open. But my gun had to be somewhere right there by my chair.
And what you recall is that you had left your gun upright, but stuff on the ground at that point.
Well, I don't know. That was my intention. Like I said, I don't know if when I'm doing this, I bang the chair and I set it off, or if I do something that sets it off. But my intention was to set it against the chair.
And the chairs are only a couple feet apart. So in this commotion, I'm thinking that the gun, somebody could have moved it possibly, if it's like in a position where it's hanging off the tray, because the tray on your chair, that rifle is not going to sit on that chair without some hangover at some point.
Oh yeah, it would stick out.
And if it's sitting on the ground near the chair, I'm guessing that with all you guys moving around there, that it's pretty close quarters. Your chairs are like 2-3 feet apart, you said? Okay. Well, I'll talk to the other guys and see if anyone recalls moving it or if anyone else cleared it. No one has said that, but that we just hadn't really thought about asking everyone about that.
Well, because I think that's where I've been wondering. Did it fall off the chair? Did it slide down? Was it, I was working there on Bob, so it's like there's no way it fell down. Because I remember he's clear. I don't have to move it out of the way.
Okay. And you had multiple kinds of ammo that you were shooting that day.
Yeah, in fact, it was in a jar that had all different kinds, and I told you before that some of the ones were oxidized and were hanging up and sticking in the chamber.
And then, do you recall having like hollow point ammo?
There's hollow point and solid point in there. It's mixed with several different brands.
And I'm assuming as a 30-year veteran of being a police officer, you've seen gunshot wounds.
Yes.
And based on what you saw that day, kind of what was your belief about the closeness of the shot or any of that? Did you have an opinion of that or anything at that point?
He had a black T-shirt on, and I could see, he was squeezing, holding tight. And when he pulled it up, I could see there's a 22 hole in him, and I could see that there was a 22 hole in the black T-shirt as well.
Of course, if it's a black T-shirt, you're not going to see any stippling on the black, or you didn't see any on the skin.
I didn't at all. It was he was squeezing it tight, and he let go, and it was just a perfect little hole there, and surprisingly was not bleeding like as much like I would have thought.
Right. Okay. And so one of the other things that has got some people kind of hung up on is, so you learn on Sunday afternoon that that you had to have had the accidental discharge, and you call Dempsey and talk to him and apologize to him, and
I call Steve Buckle as well.
Okay.
Because he had been riding back with me.
Okay. And so, and I know we, or Mitch talked to you a little bit about why didn't you contact the sheriff that day? And that's still coming up. It's a question.
That's fair. It was, in hindsight, that was the biggest mistake I've ever made. I talked to Bob, and I said, Bob, I need to talk to the deputy, because Bob had the contact information. And he said, he's gone for a few weeks. He's going to call me when he gets back. And I said, make sure he calls me too right after
Okay.
that.
Okay.
And so my belief was, all right, there's this, it's a small department. He's the investigator. He's going to contact Bob back. At this point, believe Bob has shot himself, and so when he follows, so I'm not picturing there's anyone else going to pick up and do any active investigation when he calls back and tell him here's what we figured out.
Okay.
But that, in hindsight, that was very foolish. I should have called somebody and just let them know, hey, here's something significantly different from how this started out.
Okay. Okay. Did you feel like at the scene that Nesbitt had identified someone as being the potential accidental discharge, or that at that point did he believe that it was accidental discharge by Bob? Did he give you any indication of what he thought had happened?
No, I wasn't. I was, he did all his interviews one-on-one, so I don't know what he said or what other folks said.
And you guys didn't talk about what you were going to say on the way there, or?
No, I was by myself for one.
Okay.
So
you drove to Fields by yourself.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so, when this happens, and I'm treating Bob, and I know Steve Buchtel had come up right by me, and I had said to Bob, you shot yourself, dude. And he's like, I didn't. It's like, I felt like he was just sort of in shock, but it was like, this is really clear, to me what happened.
Okay.
I had no idea that it had come from me. I mean, there's be a significant difference in evidence and bullet path from a bullet going down like this and a bullet coming into you. I've been a cop for 30 years. There's no way that I'm going to be able to say he shot himself and the evidence not show that either did or didn't happen.
And so there is no, I just want to make sure that I understand, there was no intention of you trying to hide this from your work or hide the fact that you had the accidental discharge.
Not at all.
From the sheriff's office.
I started adding up, and it's like I made 18 people aware of this, and so that
was on Monday the 25th.
Between I think 5 people on Sunday. So Mike, Bob, Steve Buchtel, my wife, my son. And then my boss was in Europe, not due back till the next morning.
And that's Mayor Hales.
Mayor Hales. So I called him at 7 in the morning. At 8 in the morning, I told my 4 assistant chiefs.
So you called Mayor Hales and told him over the phone.
Yes.
Then you meet with your chiefs, I'm assuming at the Bureau on Monday at 8, and tell them.
Yep.
Then you contact.
Then I bring in my lieutenant, who's my adjutant, and my executive assistant.
What lieutenant was that? I think
Terry Kruger.
Okay, that's right. We have that name. Okay.
Yeah, and so I tell both of them, and then at about 11 o'clock, I met with the professional standards captain who oversees the follow-up internal investigations, Derek Rodriguez, and told him as well. When I talked to the mayor, he said I need to let 3 of my staff know. He said he needed to let Josh Alpert know, and needed to let Sarah Hopman know, and Deanna Wesson Mitchell.
And then was there ever any discussion of we should make this public, or let's just, did the mayor say anything about what his plan was, how he wanted to handle it?
No, my concern why we wouldn't make something public was till the deputy is back and has the rest of this information.
Okay, right.
And then my wife also told her sister, and then met with our insurance agent and told him what happened.
Okay. Do you recall about when that was that she met with your insurance agent and stuff?
It was that week.
The week, okay.
Yeah.
So sometime during the week of the 25th of April.
Yeah.
And then.
And we could find that. That'll be.
Okay. Yeah. No, I just want to show what.
And
what the dates
he
were.
actually told her, well, be careful to what what you're saying as far as you think this is what happened, because you don't know yourself for sure. He said let the investigation finish, and then we'll have another conversation.
Okay. Okay. And then somehow it got leaked.
Yeah.
So,
The problem with letting 18 people know.
and so at no point in between the time you told the mayor and the Friday that Willamette Week called your PIO, was there a discussion of, you know, how we should handle this, what we should do, or what should we say, or
Yeah.
Mayor Hales isn't saying, I'm going to call up the sheriff's office and see what's going on with this?
No.
Okay.
I'm gonna have to get this.
Okay,
real
that's
quick.
fine. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording right now at